Before we get started with this video, I just want any eagle-eyed viewer to know that if you happen to notice shots or pieces of B-roll where the Ferrari doesn't have its lower side panels, well, I didn't realize it when I started shooting this video, and I got halfway through the B-roll and realized, wait a second, Playmobil screwed up my example of this toy by not adding those side panels, and they are not extra parts. When I went online, I found out there had been running changes with this set, including the error of having all 4 taillights being amber instead of having 2 that were red. But nowhere could I find anyone else saying they didn't get their lower door panels. Anyway, you can make it a fun drinking game or something where when you see footage of the Ferrari and it doesn't have the lower door panels, it was footage from before I realized what was going on and bought myself a replacement. Never say RetroBlasting doesn't give you fun games to play during our videos. All right, everybody, I'm gonna sound like a broken record again, but Playmobil has done another home run with their retro vehicle, television, film, whatever that sub-series is that they don't even call a series. They just bring these things out with Knight Rider on it, or Ghostbusters, or Back to the Future, A-Team, and then they just put it out there. And here we have the one that I didn't review in time, but I've been sitting on it for a while, Magnum P.I. Now, Magnum P.I. has a very spotty toy history. They, like so many shows in the 80s, had an iconic car. They were a long-running show for adults that also ended up appealing to kids because of the great intro theme, because of the car. So you had Hot Wheels that were brought out, or cars like Hot Wheels. They were die-cast licensed cars. And then you also had an action figure done by LJN, an O-ring style action figure who came with the plastic car, much in the Mego style with the Dukes of Hazzard and the General Lee. Unfortunately, that LJN car left a lot to be desired. It was really disproportionate, and it was really a promo piece, almost like the Hardcastle and McCormick set. Not a lot of kids ended up with it. So much like Hardcastle and McCormick and the Fall Guy, those action figure and vehicle sets are very rare and very hard to find. But it didn't really matter anyway, because anybody that's gotten their hands on that LJN Magnum P.I. set knows that the Ferrari is really cheaply made and doesn't look very good. So in swoops Playmobil in this retro nostalgia thing they're doing, and I think the only major vehicles they haven't done at this point from 80s television happen to be the ones that fly. You know, they haven't done Airwolf or Blue Thunder. They haven't done Street Hawk either, but those might be falling outside their licensing purview. I'm not really sure how all that shakes out. I know they have a deal with Universal, so maybe that's where all of this comes into play. But I really think they pulled out all the stops for this last one. And that might sound like forced praise because all the other vehicles in the lines have gimmicks. You know, you've either got the DeLorean with the light up effects, you've got the Bond car with all the gadgets. You've got Kit with the lights and his voice. You've got the Ghostbusters ambulance with all of the lights and sound effects. So how could this one possibly be the best? Well, I think it's the best vehicle that Playmobil has ever done in terms of the slavish attention to detail and proportion, the way they've put all the Ferrari livery on it. I mean, this really does look the business when it comes to a replicated vehicle in toy form. Compared to all the other ones they've done that were all spectacular. That's how high a bar they've set with this one. This one really takes the cake, even though it's one of the few that has no additional gimmicks on it whatsoever. It doesn't have any electronics. It doesn't have any sounds. Why would it need them? It does have the removable roof piece for the authenticity of the Ferrari 308. It's got the pop-up headlights. It's got the rear engine bonnet that lifts up. It's really, really well done with the correct interior color. All the details are inside. It really just looks sharp in that Playmobil way, especially with that current team that's doing all of these really amazing knock it out of the park toys right now. However, as spectacular as the Ferrari ended up being in this set, and it is #1 in my book of all these vehicles they've done, the rest of the set around it, while still Playmobil quality, has a little bit to be desired. We get the 4 key players of Magnum P.I. We get Thomas Magnum, we get TC, we get Rick, and we get Higgins. And that's great. They all look great. For some reason, my Higgins ended up having some blue paint rub on his safari jacket. I don't know why that happened. That's very uncommon with Playmobil figures. But something that was blue in the bag with him seems to have had some paint transfer onto him. I admit I'm a little disappointed with that, but I can't knock Playmobil for it because that next to never happens. So I'm not sure what happened here. It looks like it was a random incident. I'll get over it. Higgins still looks great overall, but it is kind of an outlier. Okay, so we've got the figurines. Each one comes with their own accessory. So you've got Magnum with a CB radio, you've got Higgins with his parrot, you've got TC with some binoculars, and you've got Rick with a camera. And all that looks fine for the most part. Once again, I wish that Playmobil had sprung for a pistol for Thomas Magnum, but this is something I guess they have an agreement with Universal, where they're not giving these characters the weapons that they carried in the shows. Kind of like I talked about with the A-Team, which is disappointing, I won't lie, but at least in the Playmobil accessories department, you can get guns for these characters very easily. So it's not a total loss, it's just a weird licensing omission that I wish Universal would get over, because it's like they're trying to dodge a bullet, no pun intended, on their own history. The final accessory in this set is a palm tree, which I get because Magnum P.I. is set in Hawaii. Okay, so they're doing a little bit of an atmospheric thing. But I really feel like this was added in because Playmobil has done a lot of palm trees before in other sets, and it was just an easy thing to throw in. It doesn't seem like a lot of thought was given on that one, and I feel like the palm tree is taking up space that should have been room for other items. I feel like the palm tree is wasting the price point. Specifically, what do I mean? I mean that Higgins doesn't have his dogs.
Don't look at the dogs, work the lock. Don't look at the dogs, you looked at the dogs.
And that's really weird. Higgins should have his 2 dogs.
Morning, me beauties.
They were just as big of characters in the show as these 4 guys. And yeah, he gets his parrot. Okay, great. But the dogs were far more memorable than the parrot. They were. And if I was really nitpicking on this, Thomas Magnum should have also been given a hatless hairpiece for the figure. Because as it is, he can only be displayed with the hat on because of the way Playmobil figures are. They have that hat indentation. And that would have been a nice option to have here, but they didn't provide that extra hairpiece. So you're going to have to go look for the same hairpiece, but without the hat indentation on it in secondhand Playmobil parts. And you're also going to have to look for dogs that you can customize to be Higgins' 2 pooches. And that's frustrating because we could have gotten that, I think, for this same price point if they just deleted the palm tree. Would have been a lot easier secondhand to get a few play sets that had palm trees from Playmobil if you really wanted that. But instead, they omitted what I think were some essentials, and they gave us a palm tree instead. Just seems like a little bit of a waste. And that is where this set falters. This set knocks the entire vehicle thing out of the park past all the others. But the others knew what extra business to put in there to really make it feel like the set they were trying to convey to us and push the nostalgia onto us with. You know, the Knight Rider set took the liberty of making sure that it had all the characters, all of them, and all their, tools and equipment and their desks and all that kind of stuff that Michael Knight would have encountered in every episode. I don't have to tell you about Back to the Future because you know how much detail that one went into. Even the James Bond one went into a lot of detail with the characters involved, getting scene specific with the DB5 and Goldfinger. The A-Team, they really did a good job with the characters and their signature looks and everything like that. This one, it gets so close, and the car is spectacular. And the car really forgives a lot of sins. It really does. But then on the ancillary side of things, it's amazing that they whiffed on those dogs especially. And it's proven that they could have done it because my friend and brilliant Playmobil customizer Keith Knight did it with his. He customized 2 dogs and got them with the set. And then he even went so far as to create TC's entire helicopter from a Playmobil helicopter, which is amazing. So yeah, they could have done a lot more with getting those details right and not worrying about this dumb palm tree. Playmobil so rarely misses in that regard, so I'm not really sure why they did that here, but they did, and this is what we have. And again, you can right the ship and fix it with the proper accessories from Playmobil and some paint. But Playmobil is usually so good at delivering on that right out of the gate where you don't have to worry about much, barring a few firearms. But with this set, that last detail just didn't quite come together, which is baffling. But overall, it's awesome to have a Magnum P.I. set. It really shows what Playmobil can do. The car is amazing. It's great to have Thomas Magnum in Playmobil form with his car. It's such a great addition to a Playmobil fleet, especially this sort of retro nostalgia line they've been doing the last few years. And I couldn't be happier with the end result and the quality that Playmobil put into it, because the car is the main event. It's the whole reason you're buying the set to begin with. And in that respect, Playmobil is still tops, and they still haven't disappointed me yet.
Guns don't work on Sunday.